All right, so welcome to this session on using Cyprus for testing ExpressionEngine and ExpressionEngine add-ons. My name is Yuri. I am part of Packet Type team working on ExpressionEngine Core and ExpressionEngine Pro. I'm very excited that it's finally going to be released soon after long work. But this session is not about Pro, it's about using Cyprus. So as you know, with the release of ExpressionEngine 6, we have switched to Cypress .io for running automated tests, and we've been running this for over than a year now, and we are really satisfied with what it does. It helps to speed up testing a lot. During the development time, if you follow the test-driven development concept, or if you just want to ensure that things work as expected after you have written the code. And as well, we have automated tests running as GitHub actions. So basically, each time a pull request is being made to ExpressionEngine, there's a large set of automated tests being run. And all they are powered by Cypress, which is a JavaScript testing engine, with a lack of better word. So if you're familiar with JavaScript, and specifically with jQuery, because it shares a lot with jQuery, then you should have no issues with writing the tests for your add-ons, or for ExpressionEngine if you're making some community contribution, submitting some pull request. And Andy has just pinged me that there's publicly available documentation on Cyprus, just published. Something we didn't have yet for a long time, and I know many people have asked for this, and finally it's there. So many people were asking how to actually run Cyprus, and it looks like we didn't document that well. We really had like a couple of words written here and there. But using Cyprus is easy. So first thing that you do is you use your terminal, switch to your website's directory. And I'm going to focus on local testing for this. As I mentioned, Cypress can be implemented as part of your continuous integration. It can run on GitHub Actions or a lot of different other runners. But I'm talking about the local development and running the tests locally now. So you switch to your website's root directory, and this is only available for installs from the repository, ExpressionEngine's repository. So if you have EE installed from the zip file, there is no Cypress or tests folder in there. So you would either need to download that separately or just make a test installation from the repository. So change directory to tests, Cypress. And everything you run is to run npm e command or npm install. Obviously, you need Node.js and npm because Cypress is being run as npm module. But running npm-e is really everything that you need to do. I've deleted the package log file so that it would actually install, and it ran pretty quick. And it actually generated me some warnings that I should have some suppressed somewhere, but it doesn't matter, just saying no repository field. Anyway, this should run. When you install Cypress or run this command in test Cypress directory for the first time, you will get some longer waiting period because it downloads the Cypress, it downloads the Electron browser, it unpacks and installs those globally. But it does everything with the command line, so you really should have no issues there. So the next thing that you do is you need to make sure to create cypress.env.json files. So this is again in your test Cypress directory, and you can just copy your Cypress env example JSON. So what you would probably want to change here is to change your Cypress-based URL to your actual local URL. You would need to change your database user and database password and your database name. Everything else should probably just stay the same. So the simplest way to run the command, and I'm actually just looking here to make sure that everything will be displayed. You just run this command, and it's all mentioned in the new documentation page that just published. And it's going to open the visual interface that lists all of your available tests. And then you can click any of the test name, and it will run them using your selected browser. So just waiting a minute here. So sometimes it can get slow, especially if the computer was running for the full day or didn't restart for a while. Yeah, here it is. So here you can select the browser which you want to test with. So I typically test with Chrome or Edge. However, Electron is the default browser that's installed with Cypress. It's based of Chromium engine, I believe. So just to show you how this works, I could run one test, but I will probably not do that in order to save us some time for writing the actual real test. So I'm going to close this, and for the purpose of this presentation, we'll be working on Tagger add-on, which is eHarbor add-on, and it lacks some testing. It has some tests written around it, but it looks like we need more. So I've decided to take it and we'll just do live coding session, write some tests for it. So what I'm going to start with is I need to add it to my test installation. So instead of copying the files, I'm going to just make symlinks for system user add-ons directory and temps. directory. And also for the tests. So I have placed my tests under tests Cyprus directory. So this is just the way I did it. Someone else might prefer different folder structure. It doesn't really matter where you put the tests, but in order to let them run, they need to be placed inside Cypress integration folder. So whenever you have them, you will need to make sure they are either being copied over or linked to a directory in Cypress integration. All right, so I have already placed a test file in that directory. So if I reload, it should just show up there. And I'm going to change my configuration a little bit, so it would just show the test files that are in bigger directory. Again, this is directory in Cypress integration folder in your main install. So I'm going to run this Cypress open command again. And again, wait a little bit. While this is running, I'm going to clean up something of what has been written already and start explaining this. This reference line is really not needed to run the test. It's just intended for your IDE to tell that you can use Cypress TypeScript here, and it enables the type hinting and such. So here's our test being loaded. And since I've limited in my Cypress JSON config file, I've limited it to Tagger folders, scripts that have .e6.js extension. And yes, this is important. Your files need to have .e6.js extension. That's all mentioned in the docs. I'll just say it again. So you could start with just writing the tests directly, and a single test is identified with it command. But I would recommend to group the tests so you could more easier identify which tests is running, which test is failing, and such. So here I'm using the keyword describe, and I'm calling it Tagger test. And the before command is something that gets run in the beginning of each test set or test file, or whatever is in describe command. There are also before each and after each commands, as well as after. So in all our tests, we use before. Is the first thing that I think like 95% of our tests do is seeding the database. So often that in most cases, the test is changing the data, and also you need to make sure you get a clean database before you start comparing the things. So we have this task specifically created to see the ExpressionEngine database that matches your current ExpressionEngine version. The next thing is we need to install our add-on. So we do this by visiting and the control panel page, CP add-ons, and we are making sure we are getting logged in. So we are not just using cvisit, but we are using Auth Visit. So if you just want to visit the page, you use this command, but Auth Visit is this special command we have written for authenticated visit for control panel pages. Then we click the link that contains tagger text. I'm going to return to getting elements in a moment. For now, I'll just explain what we do in this before section. The next thing is we enable templates in files and copy over templates. So again, we have this special command EEConf, and we are setting the save template file settings to yes to make sure that templates are being saved as files, so we could synchronize our templates back or synchronize our test templates back to the website's templates. And again, we have this our special command, file system copy task, and we define that we copy from our add-on templates folder to system user templates folder. And we are using then function because we want the next operation to run only after we have finished these tasks. So some functions in Cyprus are running synchronously and some are being run asynchronously. So the tasks are asynchronous. Things keep running while the task is actually executing. So if we need to make sure it has finished running, we need to use then function. So we are visiting the CP design page, which would trigger synchronization between the templates and files. So let's write a simple test. Let's call it can create so in order to run the tests, I'm actually going to run this so that it just seeds my database and such. So you notice I had this window open and it dynamically rereads my file, or at least that's what I would expect. So it runs through my initial before functions. And while that is running, of course, the screen is empty because we are not visiting any pages here. So here's the Auth Visit happening. It's typing in the username and password as defined in our env JSON file. And we've got logged into ExpressionEngine. And next thing that we visit CP add-ons page, and that is where we install our tagger add-on. So page load's taking a while for some reason. So finally it loaded, and I've got add-on card contains tagger clicked. Then a template's copied, and visiting the CP design page in order to get them synchronized. And yes, I see the tagger group here. And the test is marked as successfully executed because nothing really happened here. We don't have the actual test defined. So we only have not much time left, so I'm going to just copy over some things here. Um, I have this Cypress recorder Chrome extension installed, and I'm using it to help automate getting the elements for the test. It actually records whatever you do on page and tries to create a Cypress tests based on that. It's not always accurate, but it can be used as a base that you will then change manually. So I start recording, and I want to start with creating a new group, which is this thing that I want to test. So I click new, I type group level. And I click save. And I expect this new group to appear here. So I'm going to stop the recording, copy this to clipboard, and see if that actually helps. I've started with Auth Visit to CP add-on settings tagger page. This Chrome extension actually wrote that for me already. The only difference is that I want to change visit to Auth Visit, and I want to remove the domain name because that's coming from configuration file. I don't need to hard code it. So then it's clicking the button, the new button. I don't know how reliable this is. So I will just write it differently. So this is inside. And just open my developer console. I'll just inspect the elements that I want to click. Oops, I should not have clicked too early. So I can see that it's inside secondary sidebar. It's button primary, and it has text new. So I'm writing this selector class secondary sidebar class button primary and contains new. So same way like you can do in jQuery, Cypress is including some flavor of jQuery with itself. It's built on several technologies, and A certain jQuery implementation is one of those. So I will not be checking that URL contains admin PHP. This is not part of our test. So here's the part where it wrote or recorded my actions not correctly because it typed on elements with class focus visible. Now, if I get to it, the focus visible is the dynamic class that's applied when you actually focus the field. So I'm going to just address the fields by their name. So here in this case, group title. So copy pasting this. I clear the field and I type my text into it. I do the same with a field named group name. And then I just run submit function on the form. I could as well click the button like here, and it actually like recorded two actions that do the same. So we don't need that. After you click the link or you submit a form, Cypress actually waits for your action to complete or for your next page to load. So we don't need to add any kind of waiting here. So it's now time to compare what we have with what we have actually expected to have. So we have expected this success banner to be shown. So we have this element up notice success and it should exist on the page. And then up listing row, which is a selector for row in the table, it should contain tagger tags. Now we could also be more specific and check more data and check which row is that, but let's start with this and let's rerun it. I'm actually going to stop this because I have added some delay on comments here, which I don't want. This time I want it to run faster. And since I changed my env file, the Cypress reloaded my tests UI or their test UI, which I think is pretty cool. So let's wait for this to run. So this is what I usually do when testing locally. I just watch the tests run, or I just have them run, and if they fail somewhere, I just go back and see where exactly they fail, because you can go through all these points and see what was happening at that point. So here's the tests being run. Visits the settings tagger page. It clicks the button. It types and it saves. And then it compares. It sees this element checks that it really exists, and it checks that there is a row that contains staggered tags. So when running in headed mode with a browser, if the test fails, you can go through all of the steps and see what was happening there and how the page did look like, and what element was selected or clicked or found, or anything about that. So I know we are almost out of time, and I just want to mention certain things. I was planning to write a few more tests, but I was too slow with this. Sorry. So another thing that you would want to do with your add-ons is not just test the control panel. Cypress can as well be used to test the front end. So really what you would need is you need to, after you have synchronized this, copied over your test templates and synchronized those, you would just go to some of your front-end pages and check what is there and whether it is matching what you expect. So I didn't create any tags yet. Yeah, unfortunately, none of my tests is really adding the tags. So I'm just going to demonstrate that this can be used to run the front-end tags. So here this is this H3 tag that has related entries text. So I'll just test that it exists. And I can use either contains function, and it will fetch the existing elements that's containing the text. Or I can use should directive. Do it like this. So for purpose of this test, I'll just use contains because it's like easier to run. And I don't need all of this before. So I'll just delete it for now. And I want to run only single test. And for this, you can use only function. This is really handy if a single test is failing. So you use only to run just this test and not all of your 20-something tests. So yes, it checked for this element and it exists, and our testing succeeded. So I'm past 30 minutes that were expected for this presentation, and we have like 10 minutes for question and answers. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to address those.
Thanks, Yuri. Let's see. So I appreciate that insight because I know being on the team, I see you guys always updating Cypress test and talking about it. And honestly, I've never looked at a bit of Cypress code the entire time. So it's always been kind of a mystery how all that works. So it's cool to see the browser and the virtual browser basically and how it pulls all that through. So does anybody, and apparently my camera cannot focus all of a sudden. That's okay. Does anybody have any questions in there? I see Walter, it looks like you asked to share audio and video. I didn't know if you had a question or if that was a mistake. If you just want to chat, there in the session chat and let me know. Let's see. All right, so Lance asked, how do you integrate these tests into an automated pipeline with a headless browser?
Yeah, that's a good question, and probably the best answer to this is please look at the code that we have in GitHub folder in our ExpressionEngine repository. It has, let me tell you exactly. So there's workflows folder in there, and the tests and tests minimal YAML files in there, and they have really everything that's required to run the tests on GitHub. So in short, after GitHub creates a runner, we start PHP server, start MySQL server. We run ExpressionEngine on those, and then we use a specific actions runner for GitHub that runs the tests. It's really using the all the same configuration that we have, except it doesn't have its own .env JSON file. It's just using the default configuration. But if you need, you could also specify your own env configuration. Poof, that's like a lot to explain. Yeah, you would be better just by looking into the code.
So I think I pasted the link to the right place. So that's the Cypress test folder inside the public repo. Is that right, Yuri?
No.
Oh.
I've been referring to the different one. I'm going to paste it right now.
Okay, great. All right, and we had a question that just disappeared. I guess did somebody decide not to ask that? I don't know. All right, Gavin. It says your examples are all to do with user interaction. Can you use it also to test non-UI related elements?
Yes. So we are using Cypress to test cookies specifically. So with the new cookies functionality, we were aiming to make sure that everything works as expected. So we wrote tests that are fetching the cookies and checking the match what we expect. You cannot test like everything. It's not like unit testing in PHP. It doesn't check your backend code. It checks what your backend actually produced. So anything that was sent to the browser. If it's not in the browser, then it can't be tested with Cypress.
All right. And then Adrian asked, is it easy to test a template tag that passes params?
I am not sure I completely understand the question. But yes, as long as you can send a parameter to your template with like URL segment or a get variable or even post variable, you can submit the forms. Then yes, you can test. So if there's something that's dynamic, you would want to write into variable the data that you are sending, and then after your form submission or whatever is happening, after your template tag receives those parameters, you would compare the data with what you have actually expected.
All right. Let's see. Walter says, I don't receive video. Walter, I'm not sure. We'll go ahead and try this and see. Okay, looks like Walter's not there after all. Or that was an old request. So, all right, any other questions, comments, concerns? Matt says, thanks, Yuri, good talk. I had to pay him $20 to say that, but that's okay. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Awesome. Well, again, it's lunchtime now, so everybody can head on over to the Hangouts in the session rooms and grab some pizza, burgers, gyros, subs, whatever your favorite. Some of you guys are eating dinner, so grab some steaks, I guess. Whatever works best for you. Come over, hang out. I don't know if Yuri's going to be able to join us some or not, but he'll be around. He's also, of course, in the ExpressionEngine Slack all the time. So catch him there. A bunch of ways, post on the forums, all that kind of questions. If you have any issues or questions in the future, Matt says he's going to give me his Venmo. Nice. So, but other than that, thanks, Yuri, for the great presentation. We are trying to post these as soon as possible on YouTube, so it'll be available within the next few days or the week here, if you want to watch that in more detail with all that kind of fun. So, but other than that, head on to lunch, and then I believe I should have a schedule pulled up if I'm going to do this correctly. But I believe the next sessions are at 1:30. Oh yeah, because it's mine. So we're going to have lunch and then come back at 1:30 for our next set of sessions. Which for developer, the dev track is implementing ExpressionEngine Pro with yours truly. And then over business talk, Donetta from Termageddon is going to be doing 3 things agencies need to know about their clients' online privacy, which is super important these days. So other than that, we will see you guys later. Bye, guys.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.